Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. A client wants to write a series of articles, and he asked me how I do it. Maybe you'll find of value to see what I told him. I always have my antenna out for a topic that might interest my target readership, and once I have a potential topic, I spend just a few minutes preparing to see if it might work. I put myself in the target reader's shoes, and I ask myself, what do I know about this topic that would be helpful and isn't obvious? I'll often jot down those few main points. For example, my most recent Psychology Today post was Cleaning Out Your Home, subtitled, "It Could Be a Good Idea, but Beware the Psychological Toll." I wrote the following words down, each of which reflected my feelings as I was cleaning out my home. Embarrassed, sad, relieved, and pleased. Then I start writing from the very first sentence, keeping in mind what the reader first might want to see. Maybe a brief description of the problem, maybe tied to something current like COVID, and then what I'm planning to offer. For example, here's the introduction to that post. I've lived in my home for 43 years and have never done a complete clean out of all the stuff I'll probably never use again. But one of the COVID lockdown silver linings is that I've now done it, as I did with my mom's home after she died. Here are the psychological issues that came up for me. Perhaps you'll find them of value, maybe even get motivated to do that clean out that's so easy to delay. As I mentioned, I may have broken the world's record for the longest procrastination, 43 years. I choose to use an informal tone, sometimes injecting a bit of humor. Usually I avoid the first person because it can seem self-absorbed, but in that post I decided that was outweighed by the advantages of telling my story. I then start writing, straight from the first sentence to the last, not being perfectionistic. Sure, I might go back for a moment if some fix pops to mind, but basically my goal is to get some sort of first draft done before I get up from the chair. For a typical 600-word post, that usually takes an hour or two. Then I get up and walk the dog, clean the kitchen, whatever. Next, with fresh eyes, I read the draft, fixing only what jumps right out at me. That way I don't get stuck. In the second read, I also look for statements that would benefit from substantiation, maybe a research finding. I also look for assertions that I'm making that I'm not 100% sure are true. And when I find one of those things, I'll typically search the internet for confirmation or refutation, and if necessary, delete, change, or reduce the statement's certitude. For example, in my experience, or it's widely asserted that. After the second read, I read it again only fixing what jumps out at me. It's like when you clean out a room. After you've taken care of the really big, obvious things, new things to fix come easily into view. I'll typically review a draft 5 to 8 times, and stop reviewing only when I've read it through once without finding anything to change. Then I'll typically read it aloud to my friend, or my wife, and that accomplishes two things. Yeah, I'll get their input, but also in reading it aloud, I note errors, or where a change of wording would be wise. Next, I turn on my webcam and do what I'm doing with you right now. I read it aloud into YouTube, and I post that a little bit in advance of when I'll post the article on psychologytoday.com, and if there's any negative feedback, the viewers can offer it, and I will consider making changes. Then right before posting it, I read it yet once more in search of typos and other little fixes. Of course, everyone uses a different approach to writing, but especially for people who struggle because they expect a great first draft, maybe you'll find this approach more effective and pleasurable. It's really hard to generate excellence out of thin air. It may well be wiser to get a first draft down, even if quite flawed, and then revise your way to excellence. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I'm Marty Nemko. I welcome your thumbs up and accept your thumbs down. I always look forward to your comments, and I especially like it if you hit the share button below, share on your social media so that my efforts can have broader impact. And I am flattered if you choose to subscribe to my channel. In any event, I do thank you for watching. I am Marty Nemko.